Good morning, students. In today's lesson, we will be doing report 1 from your Oxford Progressive English, page number 11. These are a set of two newspaper reports about catching, not exactly catching, but plans to retrieve the samples of sun dust, which was sent back to Earth from a space probe named Genesis. And its task was basically to collect samples of dust, of organisms, whatever material the sun is made up of. Humans have been in the search of finding out about themselves, how the universe came into being. And this particular question of existence has really fascinated the human mind. So scientists and astronauts, they send space missions to the outer space where they collect samples, materials, data from different planets, from the sun, from the meteors, from the moons. And these samples are later on studied on the planet Earth in specific specialized laboratories where signs of life other than human life are also searched for. These two reports are basically about collection of sample from the sun's sphere. Now, report 1 is basically about the plans of how the space probe will be caught, whereas the second report, actually explains in detail of the real event of what really happened. So the first ones are basically rehearsals or plans of how the probe will be caught, whereas the second one is the actual event being reported. In today's lesson, we will do report 1. Along with this report, I will post the video of the rehearsals and any relevant resource videos so that you will better understand the concept. Now, this newspaper report appeared in The Guardian and it was written by Robert McKee on 15th of August, 2004. Robin McKee is the science editor for The Guardian. Stunt pilot swoop to catch sundust probe. It promises to be a scene worthy of a science fiction spectacular. A space probe carrying primordial material scooped from outer space starts to plunge towards our planet. The first sentence you might have noticed is considered as the hook or the attention seeker, okay, for any creative writing, for any written material. The first few words, the opening sentence really matters. If your opening sentence is strong, if it catches the reader's attention, it means your reader would like to continue reading the rest of the text. It promises to be a scene worthy of a science fiction spectacular. So the writer wants to say that whatever you're about to read or whatever was about to happen was very promising. It what the scene which was yet to happen, the incident promised, or it conveyed the idea that something that you normally see only in a science fiction movie will be seen for real by the naked eye. A space probe. I have already told you that a space probe is a small vehicle which is used to collect samples. It could be liquids, it could be solids, it could be powdery dust. Carrying primordial material. Primordial means any material which exists from the very beginning of the existence of the universe. When God created the whole universe, whatever material exists from that particular time, that is around 400 100 million years ago will be considered primordial. Scooped from outer space, scooped, collected from outer space, starts to plunge towards our planet, plunge, fall towards the planet. But before it can strike before it falls or hits the ground. But before it can strike, a helicopter flown by a Hollywood stunt pilot swoops to seize the craft. Now, one of my students asked me, why a stunt pilot? Why not a professional? The thing is, stunt pilots are also professionals. People who are working in NASA, obviously they know that they have a lot of budget on their hand. The country's millions of dollars are being spent on one space mission, so they do not want to waste all that money. So, according to them, the Hollywood stuntmen, they are so well trained that in catching and grasping objects that even the Air Force isn't. Okay, because what is the task of a stuntman? To perform uh, out of this world stunts, things that you only imagine. They actually perform it for you on screen. Remember, other than Tom Cruise, as yet, there is no other Hollywood actor who performs his own stunts. Okay, because it can be hazardous to your life. It can cause damage. It can cause permanent damage to your limbs. So, and obviously, every life matters. So you wouldn't want to just kill yourself. But before it can strike, a helicopter flown by a Hollywood stunt pilot swoops to seize the craft. Swoops, dives in to seize the craft to catch the probe. Seize, grasp the craft. Craft will be the probe, which is carrying the sun dust, preventing it from hitting the ground. The probe and its mysterious cargo are returned safely for investigation by the scientists. Why mysterious? Why is number one, whatever is it is carrying is called cargo. And then the writer uses the word mysterious. Why mysterious? Because nobody knows what material, what kind of a dust it is, because nobody has ever studied the sun dust before. So it is a mystery. You don't know what secrets it holds. Hence, the writer uses the word mysterious. Returned safely for investigation by the scientists. It sounds fantastic. It sounds heavenly. It sounds splendid, amazing, out of this world. But this precise scenario is to take place in a few weeks over America's Utah desert. Now, this incident hasn't taken place as yet. It is yet to happen in a few weeks' time. And where will this happen? In America's Utah desert. When NASA attempts to capture its 150 million pound spacecraft named Genesis. Now, the Genesis has traveled more than 2 million miles through space in the last 3 years as it plunges towards Earth. Now, this whole action of collecting the spacecraft Genesis, which is worth 150 million, will, um, as it plunges towards the Earth, this action, which of the stunt pilot capturing it, is going to take place. There is no danger of the probe contaminating the Earth. Whatever um, whatever mysterious cargo the probe holds inside it will not contaminate the Earth. On the other hand, the interception has been arranged because scientists fear that the craft's samples taken from the solar wind, the miasma of charged particles that stream from the sun, could be contaminated if it hits the ground. So the agency has hired and trained Hollywood stunt pilots Dan Rudert and Cliff Fleming to save its cargo for science. Okay, now the writer says that whatever substance, whatever mysterious cargo the probe is containing inside it, is not going to contaminate the earth. It is not going to endanger the earth. Why? Because the probe has been created, it has been crafted in such a way that nothing is going to leak out of it. Okay? But um, the scientists, they fear that whatever sample is inside the probe is going to get contaminated because of if it hits the ground. The dust uh, can contaminate the contents inside, and because the probe is built up of silicon material inside, a silicon jar inside. If that jar hits the ground, the impact can shatter the silicon chip, and whatever dust has been collected, it will get shattered and it will become part of that glass, and we will not be able to figure out which material, what content uh, was originally, uh, you know, collected from the sun's dust. Okay, we will not be able to identify whether the whatever sample, whatever substance collected from the sun's dust was or originally did contain silicon or materials which the craft was made of or not. Okay, the interception has been arranged because scientists fear that the craft samples taken from the solar wind, the miasma. Okay, now what are the samples taken from? From the solar wind, the wind around the sun. Miasma of charged particles. Miasma is basically a strong, unpleasant, and unhealthy smells or vapors from any particular substance. So, miasma of charged particles that stream from the sun. If you have ever studied the sun closely, if you've seen videos on National Geographic, you must have seen that vapors, anything which is heated, it gives off vapors. Now, um, it is suspected that whatever, because the sun is made up of it is a huge ball of gases, hence those gases will give off unpleasant smells. So they have also been, the vapors have also been collected by the probe. Now this agency, the stunt pilots who have been hired are number one, Dan Rubert, and number two, Cliff Fleming. These are the two people who are going to ride the uh, helicopter and collect the sun probe. Fleming, who has worked on films such as Star Trek 4, managed to capture a dummy capsule at every attempt during rehearsals. Now, every time Fleming uh, flew his helicopter, he has successfully captured the dummy capsule. Dummy, the fake one, which is a mannequin. Um, you see, one which is not real, something which you use for practice. Okay, so every time a dummy capsule was released in the Earth's atmosphere, Fleming was able to catch them every time. Now he's standing by for real event on 8th September. Now he is ready to catch the real thing when the event takes place on September 8th. It will not be an easy task, however, as Genesis project manager Don Sweetnam acknowledges. We must get the spacecraft to return to a tiny spot in the Utah desert and then snag it with a helicopter before it hits the ground. Snag it, capture it, scoop it, sweep it, collect it. Genesis was launched in August 2001 and uses a series of wheel-like arrays to collect particles from the solar wind. About 300 millionth of a gram was gathered. This material should provide research with insight into how our solar system was formed. Now, remember this particular report which we are reading, it was written in 2004, and the space probe Genesis was launched in August 2001. So you, while writing report, you have to keep in mind the sequence, the organization of your events. Okay. Now, um, how much of the space dust has been collected? 300 millionth of a gram. This much. Only this. 300 millionth of a gram. This material, what will it help with? The researchers will have a insight into how the solar system was formed. Last April, the craft completed its collecting mission and is now heading home. On 8 September, as it passes over the Earth, the main probe will release a capsule containing its cargo and drop it into the atmosphere. For this, I will show you a video. Parachutes will slow down. Now they're going to tell, they are speaking about, notice the use of the future tense. Okay? Now it, and is now heading home. Right here, it is using present continuous to tell you that the action is still in progress. But from here on September 8th, because the report is written on 15th September, oh sorry, 15th August, and the real event is to take place on 8th September. Hence, whatever is going to happen, whatever you expect to happen in the future, will be written in future tense, simple future tense. Okay? Now, notice how the writer has skillfully changed the tense. The parachutes will slow its descent from more than 24,000 miles per hour to around 20 miles per hour. Then, Fleming will use an 18-foot pole with a hook to snare it as it floats over Utah before lowering it on a sterile tarpaulin and bringing it to the ground. What will happen? Once the probe enters the Earth's atmosphere, obviously, once anything enters the Earth's atmosphere, there is a lot of Earth's gravitational pull. The Earth's gravitational pull is going to, pull the object speedily towards its center. And if that speed is not slowed down, Fleming, the Hollywood stunt pilots, will not be able to capture it. If they will not be able to capture it, obviously the probe is going to have an impact on the ground. Once it gets an impact, everything inside will get shattered, and whatever samples collected in the past 3 years will be lost. So parachutes need to, um, you know, open so that it can, the speed from 24,000 miles per hour will be slowed down to 20 miles per hour. What a drastic, what a grand difference. Kaha 24,000 mile per hour hai, and suddenly the parachutes are going to slow it down to 20 miles per hour. And then with an 18-foot pole, Fleming will hook the parachute and capture it. Before what? And the next step will be that this probe will then be slowly, um, softly, carefully lowered on a sterile. Sterile is something which has been sterilized. Okay? And tarpaulin is a thick canvas material which is dust proof, which is waterproof. Have you heard, those of you who live in Pakistan, have you heard of the word tarpal? Tarpal is something which is used to cover cargo on trucks, sometimes used as a shade when you go to an open market. Okay, so a sterile tarpaulin will be the resting place for the probe. The return of Genesis samples will provide NASA with the first extraterrestrial material it has brought to Earth since Apollo 17 returned from the moon in 1972, though there will be a slight difference in scale. Eugene Cernan, Eugene Cernan, and his crew brought back hundreds of pounds of moon rocks. Genesis will return the equivalent of a few grains of sand. Now, what will happen? The return of Genesis samples will provide NASA with the first extraterrestrial material. Now, again, this is specialized vocabulary. Extraterrestrial means something which is out of the range of planet Earth. Terrestrial is everything which is found on the planet Earth. Extraterrestrial is anything which comes from outer space, something which does not originally belong to the planet Earth. And when was the first extraterrestrial material brought? Oh, sorry. This is in in 1972. Another space mission called Apollo 17 returned from the moon, and with it, the crew or its crew, which was um, uh, headed by Eugene Cernan, brought back, what did they bring with them? They brought back hundreds of pounds of moon rocks. On the other hand, Genesis, after 1972, this is going to be the first time another space probe is going to bring in samples from outer space. Okay, do we understand what is happening? In 1972, oh, sorry, in 1972, Apollo 17 brought hundreds of pounds of moon rock from the moon, obviously. But now, in 2004, Genesis is going to bring samples from the sun. And compared to the hundreds of pounds of moon rock, these are only a few grains of sand, but these are equally precious. These will be poured over scientists, including Dr. Ian Franchi of the Open University. He hopes to give about 10 to 20 billionth of a gram. He hopes to be given about 10 to 20 billionth of a gram of material to study, enough to keep his team busy for years. That Mr. Dr. Ian Franchi from the Open University expects to receive um, only 10 to 20 billionth of a gram. You know how much a gram is? Can you Google it? Quickly Google it, please. A gram is 0.0357 ounces. If you want to compare it in kilograms, a gram is 1,000th of a kilogram. So further, further, we are chalking it down to 10 to 20 billionth of a gram. Okay? Now, even this little amount is going to keep Dr. Ian and his team busy for years, because they will be consistently studying these samples and finding out information which is absolutely new, which is going to uncover, or which is going to which is absolutely mysterious, and which holds lots and lots of information which has never been uncovered before. With that, we come to the end of our lesson. Thank you very much.